Hi kids, it's Captain Craig and we are back from vacation. Boy, did we have a wonderful time. Now, before I get started, I first wanted to thank Pastor Chad for sharing the story of Samuel with you last week. What a wonderful story, and a great reminder that when we pray, not only do we talk, but we also listen. Now, before I get started with this week's story, I wanted to share with you something that happened on the beach. When we go to the beach, my wife, Miss Sharon, loves to look for seashells. And she always likes to go really early in the morning or in the evening when the tide's real low, because that's when she can find most of her treasures laying on the beach. Now, quite often we'll get up and we'll go out maybe a little bit late, so the water's starting to get a little rougher. But one day she was out there collecting those shells and she's staring down at that water, waiting for that next shell to come up. And all of a sudden I look over and this big wave's coming right towards her. And as she reaches down to grab that shell, the wave knocks her over into the water. And it reminded me of a story I wanted to share with you this week. And that's in Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 33. And it goes like this. Immediately, Jesus told his disciples to get into the boat and to go ahead of him. Then he dismissed the crowd. And after he dismissed the crowd, he went up to the mountainside to pray. There he was all alone. And in the evening, the boat that he was looking at was pretty far away in the distance. And all of a sudden, the wind began to come up. And the waves began to get bigger and bigger, and the boat began to shake. And early the next morning, Jesus decided to walk out on the water to the boat. Now, when the disciples saw this, they're looking out and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's a ghost!" And they were filled with fear. And Jesus said, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." Now, when Peter saw this, he said, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to come out on the water and walk to you." And Jesus said, "Come." So Peter, staring right at Jesus, climbed out of that boat and began walking on the water towards Jesus. Now, guess what happens next? He takes his eyes off Jesus for just a moment because the wind began to pick up and the waves began to pick up. And he looked down and guess what? He got scared and he fell right into the water. And he yelled out, "Jesus, save me, save me." And Jesus, of course, reached his arm out. He grabbed Peter and he said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt me?" He then lifted Peter from the water. They climbed onto the boat, and guess what happened next? The wind calmed down, and the disciples all began to worship Jesus, saying, "You truly are the Son of God." Now, this is a great story, and it's a good reminder to always make sure that when we are focused on Jesus, when we are focused on our faith, everything will be okay. It's when we lose track of that, or when we get scared, or when we fear something, or when we're not sure what's going to happen, that we get distracted and we sometimes lose that faith. But guess who never loses faith in any of us? Jesus. He will always be there, and he will always be ready to reach his arm out, grab your arm, and say, "Everything is going to be okay." Boy, I missed all of you so much, and I'm so glad to be home. And I want you to pray this week and thank everyone for everything that you have, and thank God for everything that he's done for you. And keep in mind, never lose your faith in God. God bless you all and have a great day.